Welcome to this week's podcast episode. I have actually brought on my first family member, but welcome to the podcast, my cousin Lacey Duran.
Good morning.
Welcome. So I brought on Lacey. Well, I guess before we dive into that, give a little background. Where do you live and what do you do?
So I am a working sort of stay-at-home mom of 4 kids. I live in Brighton, Colorado. We actually just moved here. It was a bit outside my comfort zone, but all in God's hands. And I'm an essential oil educator. And I don't know, that's kind of it.
That's awesome. And I love how you said that you went outside your comfort zone, because one of the things that I'm all about, and I wrote an entire chapter in my book about, is busting outside your comfort zone. So I think for a lot of us, we built this very small, limited box of how we think things should be or how things should go. But when we're open to things outside our box, how things just flow.
Right.
For
It's crazy.
sure. So I brought you on today, and what I want to talk about is I have a lot of friends and family members that are moms, and I hear from all of my mom friends that they're feeling depleted or they never have enough me time, they're run down, they're exhausted, and you've brought this up recently, but give me some examples on what you're filing on now that you've had 4 babies, on what you're doing for yourself.
It took a long time to actually get to that point to realize that I needed me time. And it came when, like recently, within the last probably month or so, that I need it. Like, if my husband's at work, I feel the load all on myself. But then when he comes home, it's like you feel guilty because he's had a long day at home or at work, and then now he's home, and it's just like this. I feel like it's just a big cycle of guilt. But he was recently on a guy's trip for himself with some friends, and I'm like, you know what? It's time. Like, he can do that. Why can't I? But it really came to the realization that it starts with you, because men, I feel like, don't understand that. And they're not just going to be like, hey, honey, why don't you take my credit card and go to the store? They don't do that. They don't think of that. So for me, it was just being like, stand up for yourself. And not that my husband would say no, he would be totally up
They
for it,
just
but
don't
it's
think.
me. Right. It's me I had to come to the realization that, Lacey, just ask, schedule it, and do it. Because, holding stress and tension in our upper body, especially me, like to hold it in my neck and shoulders, it was like taking me physically out for days with tension headaches. And like I was in so much pain because coupled with working out and having stress, taking care of 4 babies, like one is nursing, the other's 3, and you have the 3-nagers who are really awesome, that it was just, I'm like, I can't do this to myself anymore. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's it worth taking myself out of an entire day of being productive and having a great time with my kids, and to not give myself that time? So I teach an aroma touch technique with essential oils, and I teach them a lot, and everybody loves them. But I was never following through with my word by actually giving it to myself. And so I met a lady, ironically coming out of my comfort zone. Like, I taught a class in Brighton, and then we happened to move here. So everything worked out really great to have somebody to actually give me the technique on a regular basis without having to drive, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I mean, she's 10 minutes down the road. And so I just reached out to her and asked, and, just told my husband, hey, I scheduled an aroma touch technique massage today. I'm going to go do it. He's like, great, good for you. Like, he wouldn't have done it for me. And then following that, the next day I scheduled a massage, and I had a lady come here, actually. She came to my house, which made it really convenient. My husband was able to stay home from work. So I just did it in the morning, and she came here, and that way he could leave right away. But I still got that hour of massage, and it was just awesome, and it helped so much. And really, it was just the realization that I needed to do it for myself, and I had to take the first step to do it.
Right.
It wasn't going to be him or anybody else.
Something you touched on there that I love, and I think it was when I did yoga teacher training in Bali, but our yoga guru is what I called him. He taught us, practice what you teach, teach what you practice.
Right.
So, and that's, I think also what you said is that you had to do it for you. So if you sit back and wait and expect, well, my husband should be offering this to me, or maybe my mom should come take care of the kids so I can go have me time. And then you have to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super, super hard for me to realize. Like, we chain a lot of people to the should and shouldn'ts. Like, they should do
Mm.
this for me. They should offer to do that for me. And it's like, well, like, no
That's
one's,
having, yeah,
oh, go
that's
ahead.
having unspoken expectations, and
Right.
without verbalizing, without communicating, then you're always going to be pissed off or disappointed.
Right. Exactly. And that's stupid. Like, why do that to yourself? If you want something, ask for it.
Yeah. So now that you're starting to do this for yourself and making it more of a regular routine, what are the benefits? How are you feeling after the fact?
I felt after the aroma touch, it was my first one. So I'm excited to see what the continual will be. But not that it was my first one, but it was the first one that I actually gave to myself that was in just a relaxing setting. And, it was just alone time. During was so awesome. I think at one point I even fell asleep, which was great. But you just like, you wake up feeling kind of groggy and kind of tired. But then afterwards, it was just like my emotions had been reset and everything. I was just happy. Like, I was excited to go home and be with my family and not feeling like, oh, I can't wait for bedtime, which a lot of parents get excited for. It's like, okay, it's bedtime, you know? Um, but then even after the massage, it was just like, oh, like I felt loose and like ready to go for the day. And, um, I work out every morning too. And so it helps even keep my workouts consistent because, you're building muscle and you're constantly worrying about like strength and you don't stretch enough. So just all of it kind of encompassed together. But I just felt like, okay, like these are things I need. These are things that I want. And I'm going to make it a point. But it took me to actually make the call and schedule them and get them on the calendar. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
So maybe what you're offering to other moms before they get to that breakdown point or that total depletion, their tank on out of gas, that maybe they should start now.
Absolutely. There is no better time than now to start a self-care routine. I recently got back from a leadership retreat for with my team and the company that I'm with, and it opened my eyes to a lot. Like um, they're really passionate about serving others and helping others and really opening your heart to the possibilities. Like, we want to help people heal themselves, and it's just awesome. But one of the main topics for like half the morning, it was from like 9 a.m. to noon, was self-care.
Yeah.
So they like, not only do they teach us to serve other people, but they were like, how can you fill other people's tanks when you're not filling your own? And somebody said something, the lady that was speaking at the time, and I can't remember her name, she just said, you can't make like the point. I'm trying to think of how she said it. Like, her breaking point was realizing that her business wasn't going to grow, her future wasn't going to go forward if she didn't take a step back and care for herself first.
Mm-hmm.
And once she did that was when blessings started to happen more in her life, and she was offered more abundance, and she even started making more money. And that was the thing that was like, whoop, like smacked me in the face. It was like, Lacey, it is time. Like, if you want to continue to be successful and continue growing your business and continue being a great mom and, the things that you want in your life, like, take care of yourself. Like, I've taken care of my kids for 10 years, and it's like, okay, I've never once like done something for myself.
Well, I think the key in all of this, I actually just got chills when you finished that, but the key is creating balance in all areas of life. And I think for some that may be easier said than done, but it's, if you have 24 hours a day, or let's think of a pie, and if it's 100% and you're carving out a little percentage to each thing, you can't forget one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
you. And another example, which I love, I use this often, but it's that whole, when you're flying and the flight attendants give the example that should cabin pressure change and oxygen mask pop down, you have to put it on you before you can help the person next to you. So that's more or less like a metaphor for life.
What's funny about that is every single time we fly, my brain always goes instantly to, oh my gosh, no, I have to take care of my kids first. Every time. So that's funny that you bring it up, because that's where our heads go. Like, we're always like, okay, take care of your kids first. Oh my gosh, like that's where I would do, oh my God, get the masks on them. But you have to stop and be like, no, me first, because how can I help anybody else if I'm not alive or oxygenated? Or
yeah.
So
yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're finally taking the steps to take care of you. And I think something else that we talked about briefly is, and I hear it from a lot of my mom friends, but it's the mom guilt. So what would you suggest to other moms out there that are like, cool, yeah, I'd love to take this free time, but I feel guilty to go have a massage, or I feel guilty to take an hour to myself?
For me, it's a hard one to get over. But I think the more you make it a consistent routine, the easier it will be, because the better you feel and the more quality time you'll have with the people you love.
I think that's key right there.
Yeah, the quality time for sure. So like, for an example, it's my oldest is 10, my youngest is 9 months. You have kids, you get stuck in that rut, and it's not necessarily rut, it's just being a mom, but you get stuck in that pattern of doing everything for your kids, doing this, and then your body kind of isn't the way that you want it to be. And excuse me. But after I had my daughter, I like you're supposed to wait 6 weeks before you get back to any physical activity. And after my 6-week postpartum checkup, I was like, I am doing this. I am doing something. I'm tired of feeling weak and like emotionally weak and strength weak. And I wanted to be stronger in every aspect of my life. So I started getting up early when none of the kids were awake, so I could get a workout in, like just complete it. And I started doing that every single day. And since then, I like to get up at 5, because my kids normally wake up between 6 and 6:30. And so I've been getting up at 5 so I could have that 1 hour to work out, so I don't have to deal with the mom guilt, because then it's like, I got it done. You just feel good. And getting up an hour earlier is not awesome sometimes, but it's really just the mindset shift. Like, once you shift that mindset of, no, I'm doing this for myself, that mom guilt is gone, because I'm not taking an hour from them. And then I can get other things done that I want to do. Like, I feel better maybe being a little more tired waking up and working out through that hour than sleeping in and then taking the time away from them. So it's just, you just have to make priority shifts and a mindset shift. Like, it was, the miracle morning that we talked about,
Yep.
It's all
Actually,
about, think about it.
exactly. And so many of the successful entrepreneurs or businessmen, I mean, we can talk about, it was Jay Shetty actually who gave a speech recently, but it's all these super successful people we hear about: Tony Robbins, Oprah, Richard Branson. They all wake up anywhere between that like 4 and 6 a.m. block, because that's when you're productive and you get the most done. So go you. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks. It's been really good. And I didn't do it this morning because we had a really late night last night, and I feel a bit guilty for not giving myself that time, but I can't hold on to it. Like, I just have to let it go. And guess what? Tomorrow's another day. If I find time to do it today, like later on, great. If not, if I hold on to it, that's what's going to make you feel like poo. So it's like, tomorrow's a new day. You can start over. Get up at 5 and all be well good.
Yep. So I like to wrap up every podcast interview with a couple rapid fire questions. So whatever first comes to mind, spit it out.
Okay.
What is a favorite quote or motto that you live by?
Be the light, or let it go. Those are two that are pretty strong.
I love that one. I actually used that just yesterday to some girl asking about how she can not let others' negative energy affect her. And I said, be the light.
It's a good one.
What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
Ooh. I'm actually going to start reading. I'm kind of in the middle of like 3 different ones. I guess it kind of depends on the day, but I'm going to start to do audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got our 30-day free trial because I'm like, I drive a lot. If I can listen to in the car, that'd be great. So I can't even think of her name. Let me find it. The book is called Girl, Wash Your Face. And I saw her video on Facebook, and her like maybe 2-minute clip about her journey was just amazing. And it totally circled back to our leadership retreat that we had. And then we went to an elite retreat, and then it really circled back to this elite retreat. And I shared it with some of the girls that were there, and they were like, oh my gosh, how amazing. So some of us are going to read that book together. I'm going to try and find the name of it for you real quick. It's called, or her name is Rachel Hollis, and the book is called Girl, Wash Your Face. Okay. So like, just her video was really inspiring. So that's the next one.
And on a final note, what is one piece of advice you give to moms?
Don't worry. I don't know. I think that speaks volumes to a lot of things. Like, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. Like, don't worry and hold on to it. What's that saying? Like, if you're worrying and you're holding on to it and it's a hot rock, it's only hurting yourself. It's not hurting everybody else. Something along those lines. Well,
there's a worry one. There's something about a rocking chair. So worrying is like sitting in a rocking chair expecting to wait. Maybe that's not the right quote. You know me, I'm always close, but so far. But no, right. Yeah, no, worrying is sitting in a rocking chair. It's like giving you something to do and getting nowhere. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, if you worry and then you go, a week goes by and then you look back at what you were worrying about and you're like, wow, that was like pointless time wasted on worrying about something that's really nothing.
Yeah.
So awesome. I just, like, if I start worrying about something, I just normally throw my hands in the air and I look up and I'm just like, Jesus, I know you have this. All is good. We're good. And then I just let it go. So don't worry is normally what I try and say.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.